Hello, my friends. Here we are, and it is time for yet another devotion. We are continuing in our look at being whole. Today, we're going to look at the physical being. One of the things that my boys, especially my oldest boy, Franklin, concerns himself with is my physical health. And so I have made a promise to him. I promised him that everything that I could do that is within my control, that I would do that. I would eat better. I would exercise more. I would monitor my blood pressure as I should. And I have kept that promise. And because of that, some things have happened physically that are helpful. Is there more that I could do? Absolutely. And I hope to do that because while I explained to my son, I said, there are certain things that are not in dad's control. If dad uh, is that driving up Highway 69 and gets hit by a car or something, um, I don't have any control over that. But I do have control over how well I take care of my physical body. And so I will. And in order to be that whole person, uh, we have to take care of the whole person, as we have talked about over the last 2 days. The spiritual being, the physical being, the mental being, the emotional being. And so I would say, amongst many people, the physical being, it falls short in some areas, how well we take care of the physical being. And there are a lot of reasons for that. And I'm not going to get into all of those because, for one thing, it sounds accusatory, as if we're just accusing people of just being uncaring and unfeeling about themselves. And that's not the case. Uh, but the physical being is one of those areas where a lot of us fall short. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about how come we're not whole in terms of our physical being. Well, the Bible tells us a little bit about that. What we put into our body matters, and what we put into our body mentally, our thoughts matter and affect our mental being. What we put into our body spiritually, the spiritual practices that we have, they matter and they affect our spiritual being. What we put into our body emotionally, those emotions that we allow to grow and to expand and sometimes to fester, matter. And of course, what we put into our mouths to nourish our physical body matter. And the Bible tells us this. Let's look at it. We're going to go to our Old Testament, the book of Daniel, and we are going to look at a passage of scripture that talks about when the people first went into captivity. This is Daniel. This is verse 1 through 18. And Daniel's going to show the leadership, the rulers, how putting what is in the body, putting proper things into the body helps. Let's look at it. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord delivered Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hands, along with some of the articles from the temple of God. These he carried off to the temple of his God in Babylonia, and put it in the treasure house of his God. Then the king ordered Epiphanius, chief of the court's officials, to bring into the king's service some of the Israelites from the royal family and the nobility, young men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well-informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace. He was to teach them the language and the literature of the Babylonians. The king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years, and after that, they were to enter the king's service. Among these who were chosen from Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The chief officials gave them new names: Daniel, the name Belshazzar; Hananiah, Shadrach; to Mishael, Meshach; and to Azariah, Abednego. But Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine, and he asked the chief officials for permission not to defile himself this way. Now, God had caused the official to show favor and compassion to Daniel, but the official told Daniel, "I'm afraid of my lord the king, who has assigned you your food and drink. Why should he see you looking worse than the other young men your age? The king would then have my head because of you." Daniel then said to the guard whom the chief officials had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, "Please test your servants for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then compare our appearance with that of the young men who eat the royal food, and treat your servants in accordance with what you see." So he agreed to this and tested them for 10 days. At the end of 10 days, they looked healthier and better nourished than any of the young men who ate the royal food. So the guard took away their choice food and wine, and they were to drink, and gave them vegetables instead. To these 4 young men, God gave knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature and learning, and Daniel could understand visions and dreams. At the end of the time set by the king to bring them into his service, the chief officials presented them to Nebuchadnezzar. So let's look here. Daniel, the king is giving choice food. The king is giving the best that he can give to these servants. And Daniel says, no, we don't want to defile ourselves with that. We have a law, we have rules, we have things that God has told for us to follow. And the chief is like, yeah, I get that, but you're not gonna be looking as strong and as healthy. And the king, he gets kind of upset from times, and I kind of want to keep my head on my shoulders. So no. And then Daniel says, wait a minute. And after that 10 days, they look healthier than many of the other kings, than all of the king's other young men. And in this, we see that what we put into our body, what we put into this body matters. Now, am I advocating for becoming a vegetarian? No, I am not, because I enjoy a steak, medium, as much as anyone else, and I intend to continue to enjoy my steak on occasion. The thing that we have to take into consideration is, what do we put in our body? How often do we put it into our body? Even those that become vegan and vegetarian, they have to be aware of what they're putting into their body, because there are certain nutrients that they miss out on that they have to make sure that they replace with supplements. The bottom line is that in order to be whole, we need to make sure that we are taking care of what is called the temple. We need to make sure that we're doing our best to be good to this body. And it's not easy. And one of the things that we may have to do is, once again, go to the throne of grace and go to God and say, God, give me strength not to have that hamburger today. God, give me strength to have a little bit of broccoli today. Because as much as people may not realize it. It's not all about willpower, because some of the, when we look at our food and the preservatives and everything that are put in our food today, a lot of those things are things that our body begins to crave. But if we're going to be that whole person, we want to pay attention to the spiritual. That's what we talked about yesterday. We want to pay attention to the mental. We're going to talk about that. We want to pay attention to the emotional. We're going to talk about that. But we also have to pay attention to the physical, because not only do we want to live, we want to have a quality of life. And that quality of life is going to come from taking care of this body in which God has blessed us with. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May heaven continue to smile upon you and grant you peace. That is my prayer for you. God bless you, and I will see you tomorrow.